This is a Triple J podcast.
Hack.
Hey, it's Dave Marchese. Welcome to the Hack Podcast. You know, when we're talking new Olympic sports, there's one that's had a lot of buzz around it for a couple of years. Breaking or breakdancing. Well, later we're going to be speaking with a person I'm going to describe as Australia's biggest breakdancing expert. First though, how long's it been since you treated yourself?
Hack
I don't have a social life. I don't, because I can't afford one.
on Triple J.
What's your definition of a luxury, a splurge, a treat? And has it changed over the past year or two? Like, have you found that with cost of living pressures, now you're saying no to a lot of things that actually spark a bit of joy, lift your mood, things that you used to do and didn't think about? Maybe it's gone for a drink with your mates, going to gigs, obviously, or it could be getting your nails done, getting a haircut, whatever it is for you. Where do you draw the line in your budget about what's a necessity and what's a treat? And has it changed the way you're living? You're not dating as much. Maybe you're not socialising with your friends. You're not getting as much exercise. Call in 1300 055536. You can message in as well, 0439757555. I also want to hear how you feel if you do something special for yourself. Like, the guilt is real. In a minute, we're going to unpack this with an expert. But first, here's Angel Parsons.
So, Shalana, what are we doing with your hair today?
If I can get some purples and some greens and maybe the occasional blue.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I'm at my local hair salon in Mackay chatting to hairdresser Michael West.
Move back, and then we'll go over and get some photos.
His client Shalana is getting this wicked green and purple colour done.
Hair can be an entire identity for some people.
Definitely having coloured hair makes me feel more me than having like my normal natural. As Michael mentioned before, someone's hair can be their identity. Mine's kind of is. Very happy.
Awesome.
It really made Shalana's day, but she's saved up for this moment for a couple months. So, Michael, have you noticed anything different about your clients over the last, year or so in terms of like spending habits or trends in what people are wanting with their hair as cost of living is really affecting a lot of people?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely within the last 12 months, maybe a little bit before it, people have slowly just started transitioning into low maintenance hair colours, pushing their haircuts out for longer appointments, that sort of stuff. We've even had clients come in who will get their colour put on but then leave the salon with their colour, so that all they have to do is pay for the colour, not the blow dry and the haircut service as well.
So yeah, more and more expenses are becoming luxuries for a lot of Aussies.
I feel so guilty about doing something that isn't directly related to either improving my situation or is something that it's not food, it's not electricity bill or rent. It's not those things that are viewed as essential.
This is Brizzy woman Eleanor Smith. She's on the disability support pension. She struggles to pay rent and food. There's no money anymore for simple things she loves, like her favourite craft magazine. And she hasn't finished the last stages of a root canal because
that is kind of necessary, but in a way it's also a luxury.
But recently, her hair was feeling so heavy and flaring up her psoriasis that she decided to treat herself to a cut, despite how much anxiety and guilt that brings.
I haven't had my hair cut in about a year. I just feel better after I go and see my hairdresser, but it is really hard to sort of just think to myself, for example, I got the bus to the hair salon and then I walked home afterwards because I was, that's another $3.85 or something on a bus trip.
For Eleanor, not having the money for a haircut isn't her most pressing worry, of course, but she says that doesn't mean it's superficial or trivial either. Having to sacrifice the little things can make a big difference.
It makes you want to retreat further, and the isolation is really difficult.
And hairdresser Michael agrees.
It's not even getting the hair done, it's just stepping away and being able to vent about their problems to a hairdresser as well. We are almost there. Unqualified therapists
How the cost of living crisis impacts our well-being can be hard to measure, but a survey run by a group of Aussie academics every year gives us some really interesting insight.
Each year, we ask 2,000 Australians across the country about their well-being.
This is Kate Lysett from the School of Psychology at Deakin Uni. She's the lead researcher on the Australian Unity Wellbeing Index.
For satisfaction with life as a whole, it had dropped to the lowest score that we've ever seen on record.
It's super grim, but they also found that the average well-being for 18 to 25-year-olds was the lowest on record as well, likely from feelings of anxiety, stress, depression, and climate worry.
The three things that we know contribute most to satisfaction with life as a whole: standard of living, personal relationship, and the sense of purpose in life are by far the strongest.
But sometimes those things cost money to achieve, right? I asked Kate and she said, yeah, money can make a huge difference in the lower income brackets. But she really wanted to point out that actually, sometimes the most meaningful boosts to well-being can be free. Think quality time with a friend over a cleverly marketed product.
Well-being is such a buzzword now, and it's so marketed. Go to a retreat and boost your well-being type thing. I think, what we're talking about here is very different.
And Eleanor says finding a safe space online has actually helped her find that sense of connectedness, and she really recommends it for anyone else struggling to spend a little money on yourself right now.
There'll be people who can validate you, who can also suggest some ideas as well for your type of self-care. As I said, I felt bad about going to get my hair cut. It can sometimes help just to say it out to people.
Hack on Triple J.
Angel Parsons with that story, and lots of stuff on the text line coming through. People talking about coffees. Yeah, feel guilty about spending $20 on coffee last week. Another person, because of cost of living pressures, as a recently graduated comms student, I don't get my hair dyed anymore. My brother cut off my hair recently. Another person, yeah, just a normal haircut's a luxury at the moment. Jackson says, no guilt. You can't take your money when you're gone. It's Jackson's view on it. Let's go to Josh in Melbourne. Josh is on the line. Hey, Josh, are you figuring out that your life's a bit different now, that you can't get out and spend a bit of money?
Absolutely, it is. I moved out in January, and I've come from a place of a pretty dark place mentally, and I'm doing a lot better now. But kind of figuring out who I am, I can't just kind of go out and spend money willy-nilly figuring out what I like, because I don't have that disposable income to deal with. So I'm left in this position where I'm just kind of going to work and going home, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just the grind, right? There's so many people that are saying the same thing, Josh. Hey, thank you for calling up with your experience. Someone says, yeah, a gig used to be my treat myself. Now I'm lucky if I buy a tub of ice cream. My therapist actually asked me to intentionally treat myself to help boost endorphins. I had to tell her that therapy's the only treat myself that I can afford. That's from Chelsea. Someone else says, look, it feels a bit cringy and first world problems. How about things we like to do that cost little or nothing? I get it, but come on. I don't know. The thing is, it's affecting people's way of living. It's affecting how they see themselves. It's affecting their mood. It's affecting their mental health. So it's something that we need to talk about. Let's get into it with an expert. Jane Monica Jones is a financial therapist, and she's with us now. Hey, Jane, thanks for coming on Hack.
Thanks for having me.
Spending money to make yourself feel better sounds like a bad idea. Like everything that we're taught growing up is that that's not right. But are there some exceptions where a splurge or some little treat can actually help?
Look, absolutely. And I think what we're talking about is a level of resilience, yeah? One of the big key pieces of resilience is play. Yeah. So the more that I can play, the more that I can have a little bit of decompression, a bit of stress relief, my resilience to bounce back, deal with what's happening for me is going to be better. So what we need to do is a way of looking at play in no or low cost ways to do play. And that might mean we have to pivot the way we did play before. Maybe it's not going out to the pub as much, or spending a fortune at the theatre or cinema, whatever it is. So, but play is an essential piece. We want to get that dopamine hit.
How do you draw the line? Like, what's too much? Because you don't want to go the other way too, where all of a sudden you're reckless and spending way too much.
Yeah, so you've got to, first up in your budget is meet your basic needs. And that is, clothe myself, feed myself, and make sure I've got adequate shelter, because no amount of financial well-being is going to happen if we're not meeting our basic needs first. That's priority number one. Then it's about, look, there's times in every, our parents or our grandparents, where times are tough, and we need to pull on that resilience to be able to change the way we've done things in the past. All things will pass eventually, and this will be a time that shall. But we can't always do what we've always done to get where we want to go. So sometimes we've got to change, and this is what's been called of us at the moment.
We've got some messages coming through. Someone says, I've gone from being able to afford a lot of things that I've wanted within reason to cutting back on all those exact same purchases in the past year, close to $0, not even having extra in my bank account. I'm upset about that. Another person says, this has been my life for years. I earn minimum wage in a casual waitressing job, so I always struggled to afford things my friends can afford easily. Like, I didn't have a haircut for 4 years. So people messaging through with all of their experiences. I'm wondering, Jane, there's a lot of guilt that I can see coming through the text line as well. And some people have this in spades. Whenever they spend a bit of money on themselves that may not be on groceries or food, they're just crippled with guilt. Why is that?
Oh, look, I mean, it's a really, really complex answer. I'll try and make it really short. The thing is that, we're talking about pleasure. And pleasure is such a complicated thing that somehow we've got to get all the ducks in the row before I can even have some fun. And that's something that sits very much in our personalities, get it going. And then there's time for play. Again, we have a really complicated thing around, how can I give myself a little bit of pleasure? But it's important for self-care in a way.
So what advice have you got for people who are really struggling to spend a bit of money on themselves or are not sure what's within reason?
Yeah, look, for me, I would say, and that's whether I'm working with clients or I also work, with employees and organisations, low cost, no cost at the moment. That's just the best strategy. Spending more time in nature, looking at, proactive ways that you're not actually spending when you're socialising. Being in parks is really great for our mental health. Being in nature is part of our great mental health strategy. So low cost, no cost at the moment. It's not always going to be like this, but sometimes we just got to hunker down and just, not buy that second pair of shoe or, go out all weekend. It's just the nature of times will pass and change and better times will come.
Someone says, the cost of living definitely a thing at the moment. Like, I was earning 50% less a few years ago and dining out nearly every day. Unthinkable now as I eat home. I eat at home every day. Someone else says eating less meat each week to save dollars, prolonging turning on the heater where possible. So some of these things aren't even luxuries, but that's what people are doing. Do we think, Jane, that we need to get better at talking about money with our mates, with our families? Is that part of the problem as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There's often not a lot of psychological safety around money, because it makes us feel very, very vulnerable. We may not have what our friends may have, or we're really struggling. But it is something that, we need to talk more about. There's a lot of taboo about talking about money because we can go into comparison. But the more that we can say, I'm feeling a bit wobbly around this. We sometimes just didn't get the guidance we needed to budget better, or we didn't get the kind of advice that we needed to kind of make us handle difficult situations and money. So, if we can kind of promote it as peer groups to say, what's your money story? What's your money issues at the moment? And how can I potentially help or support you?
Okay, very good advice there. Financial therapist Jane Monica Jones, thank you so much for joining us on Hack.
Thank you.
Some more messages coming through. Someone says, Op Shop, save the planet and your money. Another person says, we all deserve a bit of enjoyment in life. Yeah, we definitely do.
Hack. That's what change is about. It's disruption.
There is a problem that needs to be fixed here.
On Triple J.